Well, welcome to Community Connections. I'm your host, Loran Graham. This show is all about highlighting the great things that are happening in the nonprofit world in Spokane. And we have the honor of having with us today the CEO of Habitat for Humanity, Michelle Giradot. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's our
Really
pleasure.
appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. Sorry, I'm getting used to the mask here in the new environment that we're in.
They are uncomfortable.
Yes. So I understand. So you're the CEO of Habitat here in Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit more about how that came to be and your leadership background.
Sure. So I've been with Habitat for Humanity for just over 10 years. Prior to that, I was in early childhood education. And when I was teaching, there were a handful of kids in my class that were in the Habitat program, but they were also, they hadn't yet received the keys to their homes. So I was in this space where, as teachers, and as I think we can kind of relate with teachers right now, is that there's just so much that we want to fix and to help the children that we work with and to educate, and there are some broken pieces to our system. And these children that I was working with were, you could just tell that the parents were very stressed. They were working multiple jobs, just trying to make ends meet. And this was kind of this bizarre wake-up call for me. So in my very naive space, I was getting so resentful. I'm like, why aren't parents doing more for their children? What is going on here? And the reality is that they were doing everything that they possibly could, but it was so hard. And the big piece to that was they were really working hard to make sure that they could afford rent, and they could afford a safe and decent and affordable place to live. And as we know right now, especially in Spokane, we are living in a really hot market right now. Mm-hmm. And housing is becoming more and more out of reach for working families. So I was kind of frustrated, and I was trying to figure out, how do I pinpoint my frustration? Mm-hmm. And I heard that there was an AmeriCorps position, which is a stipend volunteer position, with Habitat Spokane. And for the life of me, for the longest time, I went to school for education. This was my goal. This is what I was going to do. I was going to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm switching gears. And I need to focus on creating that space where parents can have a chance at providing a better future for their families. So a teacher's pay is not very much. Well, if you think that's nothing, try being an AmeriCorps volunteer. The stipend is very, 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 very modest, but it provided an additional framework where I could really see what other families were going through on a very limited income. So I started as a volunteer coordinator at Habitat as an AmeriCorps, and just fell in love with the stories of Habitat volunteers and how they got involved with Habitat. And these were, people from all walks of life that just loved the opportunity to work alongside a family or their friends and burn a little bit of energy here and there on a Saturday morning and swing a hammer. Mm-hmm. And so I enjoyed the volunteerism piece of it, and then I fell in love with the family services piece of it, learned how to raise some money, and I've been in this role for 5 years.
Okay.
And it's been really challenging and really incredible, and it's a lifestyle. It's not a job.
Wow. So you started out as a teacher, and you saw families just struggling to make it, and just to pay the rent, and not really ever getting ahead, and then you saw an opportunity where, with this organization that you could be a part of. And then actually as a volunteer, you actually experience sort of stepping into their shoes a little bit with, how much of a struggle that can be financially.
Right.
And then here's an organization that's actually providing home ownership and a chance to, for these families to move forward.
Right.
And I pulled you in, that sounds like. So,
big time.
And and then there's the volunteer aspect. So it's not just helping the families, but it's actually getting community involved. You've got people, swinging hammers. And so do you have to have any construction background to be able to do that kind of thing?
Well, I would say that that is the one department at Habitat that I have not excelled at. I have tried to be good at construction, but I am so thankful that we are blessed with an incredible construction team. And we often talk at Habitat of like, what's your body of knowledge and how can you, share that and move the mission forward? Construction is not my body of knowledge by any means.
I can relate to you there. I always say that the two tools that I know how to use the best is website search and my smartphone.
Yeah.
Able to find.
And as a homeowner myself, I've gotten better, but certainly not great.
So tell me about, so what is the official mission of Habitat for Humanity?
Yeah, so Habitat seeks to put God's love into action by bringing people together to build hope, communities, and homes. So it's really an all-encompassing mission, I believe. We are in a space now where I think we're seeing more and more of a call to really look at each other in the face as if Jesus was looking on us, and try to be catalysts to build bridges and to really experience humanity, and help to carry each other's burden. And Habitat's vision is a world where everyone has a decent place to live. And, the goal is that we're all out of the job at some point because we've solved, we've solved poverty housing. And I don't know if that will ever happen in my lifetime or even my children's lifetimes, but that's the goal. And if we are able to work in partnership with not just the families that are working to create a better life for their families, but if we're able to work in partnership to, maybe soften some of the chaos, soften some of the frustration that our community members experience by providing an opportunity to work alongside a family. I think that's a big success. We're in some challenging times right now, though, and I'm sure that you'll ask at some point how is COVID relating to how Habitat is navigating this.
That was my next question, so let's jump in. Let's jump right into that.
So, so typically when you think of Habitat, it's swinging hammers. It's, young and old showing up on a job site with the commitment to, not just help to build a home for a family that is working hard towards their, American dream, but it's also, this space where volunteers get so much out of it too. We often hear volunteers when they leave the job site say, I really thought I was showing up here to be the hero of the day. But the family that I just worked with and learned their story and how much of a change this home is going to make for them, they just changed my life. They're the heroes of this story. So it's interesting. But we're not swinging hammers as much as we used to. So we are trying to find new ways to engage volunteers to continue to keep Habitat first in their hearts and minds when they can't physically and tangibly experience that mission.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's been really fascinating. But we've shifted gears. We do allow a handful of volunteers on the job site. And we're working in new construction in Deer Park. We're doing rehab acquisition within the city limits. But the other thing we've been able to tap into is using the voices of volunteers. So when I say that, I mean, hey, you've been a volunteer with Habitat for 10, 15 years. Do you mind calling your lawmaker and saying, hey, and inviting them to the challenge of maybe reducing or reforming some of the zoning in our neighborhoods? So maybe we could build more affordable homeownership opportunities for families. And really starting to look at not just how can you use your heart and your wallet to serve Habitat's mission, eventually swing that hammer, but also how can you use your voice to continue to promote affordable homeownership and getting families the tools that they need so they can build their own American dream.
Awesome. So let's explore that a little further. I'd love to just to be able to paint a picture for our viewers of what it's actually like following, like say one family,
Sure.
That they're pursuing home ownership. How do they get in contact with Habitat? What's the process? How are there requirements that they need to be involved in the project? And how does that all fit together from identifying a new family that qualifies to actually handing over the keys?
Well, I'll tell you, oftentimes when somebody from the community sees Habitat's brand, they assume, oh, maybe Habitat will give me a house. It is a partnership, and it's a long partnership because it's not just handing over the keys immediately. We have to really provide the foundation for a family to learn what does it mean to be a successful home buyer and a successful homeowner. So we look at 3 basic criteria: need, ability to pay, and willingness to partner. So when a family fills out a very lengthy application for Habitat homeownership, it's more or less filling out the paperwork for a bank loan. And it's not, as if you're just saying, hey, I'm solid, sign me up. Like, we do a rigorous and thorough review of, what does your income look like? Are you paying your bills? What's your relationship with your landlord? Are you paying rent on time? Are you paying your utilities on time? What does your credit look like? And that isn't to say that if you have any dings on your, your credit report, that we wouldn't be able to work something out. But it is a total deep dive into what does it look like. Once a family qualifies through the initial application process, we more or less go through a Habitat boot camp. And what that looks like is really changing behavior to make sure that a family will be successful. And by changing behavior, I mean, how are you spending your money? How can you be more thoughtful with that so we can make sure that you are thinking about the future? So budgeting, a whole slew of really rigorous workshops, and sweat equity. So have you heard that term before, sweat equity?
Sure, absolutely. It's in business you gotta so
put some skin in the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's not just home ownership, it's education, it's teaching habits. It sounds like in a lot of ways character building to help them be successful for the long term, really.
Absolutely.
So wow.
Well, and it's also a total shift in many of the families that we've worked with. They have looked at home ownership or just, changing their lives as something that's totally unattainable. Like they'll never be able to experience it because they've been told no so many times. And to be honest, it's not an easy process to dig yourself out of debt. It's not an easy process to, go and get a degree so you get a higher paying job. Like all of these things take resources and time. So it truly is this shift in not just mindset, but also in behavior and practice. And when a family gets those keys to their habitat home, they're more confident. They know exactly how to, approach other aspects in their lives because they know how to do estate planning for themselves. They know how to, shop for homeowners insurance. And they know how to save for, the rainy day fund to fix a broken down vehicle or to save for college or, go to Disneyland someday. I mean, these are all these things that we see on TV that seem so easy to obtain, and for so many, it isn't. And for me, I want that for any family and every family that is willing to commit to the long road it takes to get there.
Sure. So there's a sort of the gift of pride of ownership that they can actually take pride in being homeowners and all the responsibility that goes with that. And so it sounds like you're sort of in the business of changing lives through how you're implementing your mission and really giving families a boost and
Right.
Propelling them forward. And then how is it also impacting in the community too,
Sure.
as homes are being built and developed? Is that what is the community impact that you're seeing?
Yeah.
To
So,
Spokane?
just and we hear often from, community members, if we're about to launch into a neighborhood, we want to make sure that neighborhood is on board, and kind of bust some of the myths of, what does a habitat home mean? Well, what you may not know is that a habitat home means that you're going to be living next to a family that is so proud of the home and the accomplishment that they've gotten and that they've worked through, that your property values are going to go up because they know exactly what to do. If they're having an issue with their home, they know how to make their home keep its value. So there's some of these myths that we bust with neighborhoods of like, actually, stable housing, and especially stable home ownership, is so good for neighborhoods, and it creates that stability. And you might hear occasionally this idea of like, how do we create mixed income neighborhoods where we are able to not just preserve the integrity of a neighborhood, but also provide that opportunity for a family that's just ready for to make the shift to home ownership. So one of the really exciting opportunities that we've been working through is our rehab acquisition program. So we've focused primarily in West Central, and we heard a few years ago, hey, there's all of these empty homes in Spokane, and we've got a housing issue where people can't access housing. What do we do about that? So Habitat's been buying and rehabbing single-family homes in West Central, and it has been like wildfire, which probably isn't the best term to use.
It's been very popular.
But my goodness, it has been such a remarkable, it's just taken off. So we rehabbed one home, and a neighbor would come over and would say, hey, thinking about moving or downsizing, you want to buy my home. And we'll, kind of take a look and see if it will be affordable for, a future family. And now we've got quite a few homes in West Central within just a block's radius. So now we're not just revitalizing a home that was housing crime and blight and just a lot of really unfortunate circumstances. Loss of property values, no property taxes paid. We're doing that with an entire block. So it's now kind of shifted from this assumption that Habitat homeownership is, not for me. That's not my kind of thing. Now it's we need programs like Habitat to help stabilize neighborhoods. So community has been very positive.
That's wonderful. Yeah. So you're changing individual family lives, but also helping to revitalize and transform whole neighborhoods and communities. So that's really neat. So, well, wonderful. Well, I know we're almost out of time.
Oh, sorry.
But no, it's perfect. It's been really educational and informative. So thank you for sharing with us. What is the best way for someone to get involved or to contact Habitat if they would like to either donate or get involved in the volunteer aspect?
Well, so we've seen a 113% increase in qualified applications for our homeownership program. But with that, we're also, we always want to make sure that if you and your family feel like homeownership, affordable homeownership is right for you, always reach out. Go to our website, habitat-spokane.org. But we also have, and this is totally different from our home building activities, we have a Habitat store. So for all of those that have been doing repairs on their homes, fancifying them, we've seen so many awesome Pinterest moments from people that are investing into their homes right now. Please come to our Habitat store and shop or donate. If you're doing a remodel on your house, we will take those materials and we offer a free pickup. Also sign up on our website. And of course, if you are wanting to volunteer, we do have some availability to work on our job sites. But there's also other opportunities. We need people to share with their networks, like what are we doing? We need people to share in our advocacy efforts to make sure that the Housing Trust Fund in our next state capital budget is fully funded. So we've got a number of advocacy efforts that we need the power of those hearts and hammers, but also those voices.
Wonderful. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being with us today. And that's all the time we have. Thank you for joining us for Community Connections. I'm your host, Loran Graham.
Being a parent right now can be tough. Why not have the peace of mind knowing that your child is attending one of the finest Christian schools in the Inland Northwest? Since 1949, Northwest Christian Schools has been providing a gospel-centered education to students from preschool through 12th grade. We provide a supportive community that values Christian education, biblical truth, and a heart of service. For more information or to schedule a tour, call 238-4005 or visit www.nwcs.org.
Managing finances can be complex. At Loran Graham Company, we're a team of certified financial planners helping clients pursue financial freedom in retirement, live generously, and seek to make a positive impact in the world through faith-based investing.
Loran Graham, CEO and President, is an LPL financial advisor. He's also a published author and nationally recognized leader in the field of faith-based investing.
Visit our website today at lorangraham.com to request an initial consult at no cost or future obligation and learn how you can become part of a growing movement of investors who want to align their investments with biblical values.